Hello, welcome to part 12 of the React tutorials for beginner series. In this part, we will learn about pure components. So pure components are a thing in React for which helps us to boost the performance. In React, what happens, the components render every time. Means if something like a state change or prop change happens, it renders, and sometimes it hampers the performance because it renders too many times. And I have seen that many times in production level projects, the hampering of the performance. So let's let us start. Let me bring my VS Code to my screen where it is. Yeah, here it is, and let me fix it. Okay, so let us create a component known as a parent component, and it will in fact render two components. One is a regular component and one is a pure component, and we'll see how the pure component will not render every time and under what circumstances. So let me go here in the components, and in the components and create parent comp.js, and the parent comp.js, what I'm going to do, parent comp.js, it RCE. Okay, so the parent component is a normal class based component. Let me close this down so that we have more space. So after that, it will also have a constructor. So our const, these are all shortcuts, and it is going to have a state also, name, Nabindu, and after that, let me have some console logs. And I will say parent component render and parent component, let me add it to the app.js. So in the app.js, instead of this focus, okay, I have to save it, then only it will show. So parent comp let me remove this because we're not using it, and let me save it. Yeah, it is showing the parent comp. Okay, so instead of div, let me give me h1 is much better. Okay, so it will show big. So after that, what we are going to have in this component, this state, we are going to change every 2 seconds. So it's a lot of changes. So for that, to emulate what we are doing, we are going to have component did mount, so that it runs every time after the component is mount, and we'll have a set interval. So you might have guessed that set interval will run every 2 seconds. So 2000 millisecond, 2 second, and what it will do, this dot set state name Bindu. Yeah, so this is on the main thing. See, it is doing the same thing again and again and again. The name it is making like this, Nabindu. Let me save it, and if I open the console, yeah, it is okay for the console to be this big because that is the main thing. So see, this parent component render is running every 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds it will keep on running and running. Okay, so After that, we'll create two components. So let me create them first. One is a regular component and one is a pure component. So one is regular component dot js. The other one is pure comp dot js. So regular component RCE, again a class-based component. Yeah, because pure components are only in class-based component, so we are creating only class-based component. Okay, so render, let me have a div here, regular component, and CLG. So CLG is a shortcut to give console log, and tab CLG and tab regular component render. Yeah, and we'll use the props this dot props, not outside but inside, this dot props dot name. So yeah, everything is okay. So let me save it, and we are going to use it in the parent component, where it will also pass this props. So parent component, where it imported. No, it didn't import it. So sometimes it imports automatically, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't import, so I have to do import from and then name equal to, I'm passing this prop this dot state dot name, I'm passing. So let me save it. Yeah, see, now parent component and regular component will be rendering every 2 seconds. So this is what is happening. So let me do one thing now. Yeah, the spell is, I always make this caps, I don't know why. So let me take this and let me copy this in the pure component. So only this will be pure comp, pure comp, this is pure comp, pure component render. I can see, I don't know why I make this big, pure component render. Okay, and let me have this in the parent. Pure comp, pure comp, pure comp, and it will be having the same props. Yeah, so now it is also same, so everything will be is rendering 3 times. Every component is rendering, see, parent, regular, pure. But pure component, the difference is that it doesn't extend from component. That is the main difference. Now we'll see what it is extending from. It is extending from pure component. Okay, pure component, and here pure component. So let me save it. Now see, it started from the starting. Regular parent component, regular component, pure component first time. After that, every time, see, pure component is not getting rendered. So pure component doesn't get rendered because if the state changes, means state or prop changes to, again it doesn't get rendered because it checks it whether it is the same props, because it is every 2 seconds it is receiving Nabendu only, so it will not render. Okay, so to understand it, what we are going to see, we are going to see a slide. So let me start it. So CPU components are what? Are a regular component is the thing which doesn't implement should component update method. It always returns true by default in a regular component. A pure component implements should component update method. So, and with the shallow prop and state comparison. So what is a shallow prop and state comparison? So let's say we have two variables a and b. Now a shallow comparison b will return true if both an a and b are of the same type and the same value. So in the case of a string Navindu, in our case, it is every time a string Navindu, shallow comparison string Navindu. So it is a string, the type is same, returns true. So the pure component will never render. This is known as shallow comparison. Okay, so pure component, how it implements shallow comparison. So pure component implements shallow comparison in two ways. One is it compares the previous state with the current state, and if there is a difference, then only re-render the component. So, and it also implements the prev props and the current props, and if there is a difference, then only re-render. So what right now we have seen the child pure component is a child component, and it was implemented only, means it was implementing this pre-props and current props thing, because it was checking the props, because it is getting a props Nabendu, and it was checking that, and it was not re-rendering. Now what we are going to do, we are going to make our parent component also see, it is rendering too many time. So parent, if we make our parent component from a normal component to a pure component, see, it is already been chosen. So let me do that and let me save it. Now see what will happen. Only one time everything will be rendered, because the child component only render when the parent component re-render. So what is happening now, it is doing a state comparison, previous state with current state it is doing. So previous state is Navendu, current state is also Navendu string, and so it will not render any further. So this is what it is. So now what we are going to do, we are going to learn about Memo. So what is Memo? So Memo were introduced in React 16.6. So for this to work, you go to your package.json and see what React you have. See, I have React 16.13, which is more than 16.6. You need at least 16.6. So as you all know that React is moving to a functional based architecture. So it is not like that class doesn't work, but with the introduction of hooks, it is moving to a function based architecture. So there is something known as Memo. Memo is nothing but what we see, with what we have seen right now in pure component. It is exactly similar to that. So but it is for functional component. As I told earlier, pure component is not there in our functional component, functional class based, in our function based, what I'm saying, in a function based component, we don't have a pure component. So for that, this memo was introduced. So let me do that. Let me create a new class known as memo comp.js, and let me open it, memo comp.js, and then rfce. See, I'm doing rfce. So it will create a function based component, and then we will get the props. We will destructure it right here, name, clg, memo component, and inside it memo component, and inside it name, which is just a props which we are getting. So now we'll go to our parent component, and here, okay, so first let me do one thing. Let me make it back to a regular component, not a pure component. So again it will implement everything after 2 seconds. So, and then let me hide this too by commenting them out, and then memo comp. Hope it came. Yeah, it came. I think I have to type it manually, then only it comes. Okay, control C, control V, save it. Yeah, it is rendering every 2 seconds because it is nothing, just a plain old thing. So how to implement memo, and it also does the same thing. So how to implement it? So this memo we don't implement because it doesn't extend from anything, the functional component. This we implement as a higher order component, just like Redux. So here I will going to do react dot memo, and I will be passing this memo comp, and just let me save it. Now see what happening. See, memo comp only rendered one. Parent comp will keep on rendering because it is a normal component. It is keep on rendering every 2 seconds. So this is what it is going to happen. So this completes our part 12 of the series. See you soon in the next part.